Hello and welcome to the NewsX Sunday Garden Roundtable. Well, this week we're going to be taking a look at the political happenings as to what is happening in the opposition because everybody is asking, who is going to be taking on Prime Minister Modi in 2024. We are seeing the beginnings of, say, some activities within the opposition. There is posturing. I think there is a somewhat unofficial conclusion that it will not be a Congress face. Rahul Gandhi is not the person. It will have to be then somebody else, somebody from the opposition. Will it be Mamta Banerjee? Will it be Arvind Kejriwal? And can any of these chief ministers have a pan India appeal? Because, somebody from West Bengal cannot become the alternative to Modi at a national level. Well, Mamta Banerjee has been doing interesting things in the coming assembly elections. We see both Mamta Banerjee and Arvind Kejriwal trying their luck. So, what is happening in the opposition? I have a panel that knows the answers. Joining me is Pawan Verma. He is a former Rajya Sabha member of the JDU, but more importantly, he is someone who's really working behind the scenes with the opposition camps, and he knows a lot of what is happening. I wonder what he'll tell us today is another this thing. Dr. Sanjay Baru, he's been the former media advisor to Dr. Manmohan Singh. He's written a lot of books, including the India's Power Elite and, of course, the Accidental Prime Minister. And also someone who's Dr. Baru's theory, of course, is that instead of everybody joining, instead of the Congress leaving, maybe Mamta Banerjee and all those who left the Congress can join the Congress and provide them with the leadership. Rama Lakshmi, she's the editor, opinion and features at the print. And Rama, in fact, wrote an article that has sparked this discussion, talking about how the fight is between Mamta Banerjee and Arvind Kejriwal, what she calls a David versus David fight, to take on, to see who will be the face against Prime Minister Modi. So, Pawan, I'll begin with you. What is happening? You know a lot of activities. What is Mamta Banerjee up to? What is your friend Prashant Kishore up to? What are you up to?
No, you see, in any vibrant democracy, there is a need for a robust opposition. If we begin with that premise, there will always be a churning to find the most effective ideological and electoral instrument to democratically challenge the ruling dispensation. Ideally and prima facie, it would appear that the largest opposition party, which is the Congress with a pan Indian footprint, would be able to meet this challenge. Uh, there are some doubts on that score because the Congress party, as currently constituted, appears to be in a drift. And according to one statistic on which I am prepared to be corrected, from 2012 onwards, there have been 72 elections of which the Congress party, as currently constituted, has lost 67. So, therefore, there is a search for a possibility of another alternative which is not necessarily alien to the very ideals that the Congress began with, the vision of our founding fathers, the values that are enshrined in our Constitution, but to resurrect, in a sense, another Congress with a pan Indian footprint to take on the might of the BJP. Now, as Rama has written, there could be two contenders, more than one contenders. After all, we are a democracy. But she seems to have zeroed in on Arvind Kejriwal and Mamta. There is space for both. And I will not rule out a possible tactical alliance in a specific situation between any of the parties. But there are limitations where the Aam Aadmi Party is concerned, primarily, and I say this objectively without being dismissive in any way. It's a fairly urban based party, restricted to right now the governance experiences from ruling a incomplete state like Delhi. Uh, yes, it has the potential of learning and moving on. I sometimes wonder that if the BJP was in power and the Aam Aadmi Party was in opposition, how will we make out the difference? Both would be arranging tourist yatras to Ayodhya, and so on and so forth. So there is also that factor of ideological clarity, not that anyone, I have myself written a book on several books on Hinduism, and my last book is The Great Hindu Civilization. There is no opposition to Hinduism, and it's a great and grand religion. But the place of religion within a democratic polity is somebody which all of us must understand, and its misuse for political reasons. So I think there are these factors where the Aam Aadmi Party is concerned. Mamata Banerjee brings to the table two unique things, and it is to be assessed whether there is further potential in that. First, she has just won a large state in India as a third time facing third term anti incumbency by increasing her vote percentage from 44 to 49% against the entire might and resources of the BJP. She is a grassroots politician who still wears Hawaii chappals and a street fighter. According to some, there is no bone in her body which has not been broken in political
Agitations.
agitations. So, and she has the fire in her belly to fight for what she thinks is right and what is wrong with the BJP. She's a woman, and that is an increasingly important factor in elections today. But TMC, as it is still largely seen as a Bengali or a relatively regional outfit with Bengali overtones, which is nothing wrong. But if you have to make it a pan Indian party, there are changes that would be required, which need to be looked at and probably already are, to make it a pan Indian outfit, which then can, in a sense, resurrect a new Congress, because it is, after all, a piece of the same cloth in terms of a breakaway section of the Congress. And
Okay.
we have to see where that goes.
Well, we know who Pavan is backing. Rama, clearly he sees Arvind Kejriwal as more or less what a lot of people are saying, a B team of the BJP, while Mamta has her own distinctive identity. Your reaction to that, Rama?
I think it's way too early. Everybody is positioning themselves. We're still 3 years away, 4 years, 3 years away from general elections. I think more than whether they can take on Modi in 2024, I find this whole phase of self-fashioning by these CMs politically instructive. I think it can set a template in the next 3 years on what kind of face can actually provide a counter. And I don't think Kejriwal has the answer or Mamta. They're all experimenting right now. They have different models. And which is why I called it a David versus David. There could be a third, there could be a fourth. There's still time now. And how they fashion themselves, what politics they pick and what they drop is also going to be very instructive. I think it's more a lens into how opposition tries to shuffle its feet, right? Rather than how the Modi mythology is dismantled. And what you said about 72 elections and 67 elections for Congress, 67 out of 72 elections. Yes, you're right. It can either be fusion or it can be fission, right? They can all come together under one, or it can just split into several. And in Hindi, they say even a dead elephant, mara hua hathi, also has a lot of value. So even if a Congress is dying or dead, it has value. It still has a shallow but wide vote base. So there will be a lot of people who will come and try and capture that vote. So let's not immediately dismiss Congress and its vote base, is what I would say, because it's a Mara hua hathi right now. But Modi since 2014 has provided an arc of ambition for several CMs. So it could be another CM tomorrow. But to answer your question, Pawan, the point you made, yes, Delhi is a half state, as you call it. But it has a cosmopolitanism, right, which basically makes Kejriwal-like figure travel to Punjab, travel to Goa, travel to Haryana. He can and travel to Bangalore and travel to Surat for what we know. So no religion, regional, ethnic, linguistic identity is able to stick to him, which is not true for Mamta. But having said that, Mamta, Bangla speaking people are there in 6 states. It's not just West Bengal. And BJP is watching all these, whether it's Tripura or Orissa or Jharkhand. BJP is watching how she makes the moves in these 6 states. And even if she picks a few seats here and there, it can be more than what Congress is today.
And Mamta is not just going to the Bangla speaking; she's even headed to Goa. Don't forget, and UP. So Sanjay, Dr. Bhai, you've always said that it makes more sense. Like Rama says, Congress has a base, so let Mamta come back into the Congress and rule from there instead of breaking away the Congress, which is what I think Pavan is hinting at.
No, that was my view earlier before the Congress took the view that it doesn't want anybody else.
Acha.
Now they've decided that they will sink or sail with Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi. So they've decided to retain the family identity of what I call the Sonia Congress. It is not even the Indian National Congress. So what I had said earlier was a possibility in the past where if Sonia Gandhi as UPA chairperson had invited Mamata Banerjee, Sharad Pawar, Jagan, various people, and I know that some inside the Congress had this view. If she had invited all of them back and recreated the Sonia Congress into an Indian National Congress and given it that kind of an image, it could have worked. But I think now we have crossed that bridge. The Congress has decided that it will be mother, son, and daughter, and therefore. And it has a footprint. I mean, as many have said, whatever, 18%, 20% vote is still there, and it may go up or down a bit. I think the two issues that I would like to focus on. First of all, I agree with a lot of what Pavan and Rama have said. The only thing I would disagree with Rama is that I don't think merely because Kejriwal, given the fact that Delhi is the media capital of India, and therefore everybody watches all these TV channels that are telecast mostly out of Delhi, except one out of Bombay. That he's got a name recognition around the country. It's very, very limited. I think first Arvind Kejriwal has to win in Punjab. He could win in Punjab. I mean, from what I hear of Punjab politics, AAP poses a challenge to the current dispensation in Punjab. So if he wins in Punjab, he will actually emerge for the first time as a regional political leader. He's right now mayor of Delhi, without even the police reporting to him. So I don't think we Delhiwalas should exaggerate the importance of another Delhiwala when you look at politics of this country from around the subcontinent. I would imagine, as I've always said on your shows, Priya, that the only serious candidate as of now is Mamata Banerjee for a variety of reasons, some of which Pawan has mentioned. I think the gender factor in Indian politics is becoming increasingly important. And she has the firepower, etc., etc. Now, let me make a substantial point which others have not yet made, which is that as we move to 2024, first and foremost, the elections in Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, etc., will shape the dynamics of 2024. So we need to walk through these 3 or 4 assembly elections before we actually come to a informed opinion about what 2024 will be like. And incidentally, Rama, 2024 is not 3 years away, it's 2 years away. Because 2 years from now, things will fall in shape. And therefore, it's these 2 years that all the political parties have with them. The second point I would make is that BJP has declared that it will contest almost across India. BJP will now contest, probably not so much in Tamil Nadu, where it is still a very, very marginal element, but now, and in Kerala, where it has some base, but essentially, in the rest of India, it will contest, which means existing political parties in these states will be in opposition to BJP. Now, there are only 1 or 2 states where there's still a question mark as to who the BJP will go with. For example, in Telangana, they made it very clear that they're going to fight Chandrasekhar Rao. They're going to be they want to replace Telangana Rashtra Samiti. So therefore, I think Telangana will see a 3-way contest between Congress, TRS and BJP. But in coastal Andhra or Andhra Pradesh, there's a question mark. Will the BJP stay with Chandrababu Naidu or go with Jagan? And I think that will, in a sense, define who within those two parties, regional parties, will work against the BJP. Otherwise, look at the rest of the country. In Orissa, in Bengal, in all the Congress-ruled states, in Karnataka, everywhere, the opposition is clearly defined by the BJP. Because, who is going to fight the BJP? There are very few non-BJP parties today which are likely to join the BJP. Now, as I said, Jagan could, I don't know, or Chandrababu Naidu may have tried. I have no idea where, between those two dynamics. So, which means that the broad identity of the likely non-BJP coalition is already defined. And if you look at that broad identity, Mamata Banerjee emerges as the obvious, at the moment, leader. Now, there may be others who come up between now and then, but certainly. So I think I would say that, I don't think it's David versus David. It is David versus Goliath at the moment. The Goliath is defining who the David will be.
That's a nice way of putting it. Well, we are here discussing that who will be the face of the opposition in 2024. And an important point, of course, is that will the next round of assembly elections define as to who will emerge as that leader? So, Pawan, I don't understand Mamata Banerjee. Clearly, you're supporting. You're thinking that she is going to be the face. So, will it be Mamata taking on everybody and then doing a UPA sort of alliance? She becomes like a UPA chairperson rather than a new Congress president, or she? Do you see others like Jagan and other people also coming up?
No, actually, I have always maintained this, that Chanakya in the Arthashastra talks of concentric circles of strategy. So there is a inner circle, which is the core, and then there is a second concentric circle, which could be your allies as against a common democratic opponent. So obviously there will be allies for any opposition party seeking to make a pan-Indian impact. Even the BJP as a pan-Indian party has allies in states. So that much is taken. As far as the UPA is concerned, there is a need to revitalize the UPA as well. I think the UPA has become largely dysfunctional because of the inability of the existing Congress under its current leadership to galvanize the organization and give enough space to those who are the other constituents of the UPA. Whether another opposition leader can, in building a pan-Indian setup, make the UPA more effective. In any case, its constituents can be natural allies. What I'm essentially trying to say, Priya, is that it's unrealistic to believe that one single entity will emerge and on a pan-Indian basis defeat the BJP. No political party plans that, nor has the BJP, I presume, the same plans if it has a pan-Indian ambition, going into new territories which it has not yet made such a headway in. So there will be allies and there will be a central focus. But it cannot be purely as a regional outfit, which is guided in its vision by the priorities of a single state. The vision itself has to change. You have to take up those values, those ideals, those goals, those priorities, and those ideological markers which define you as a pan-Indian party. And they must have resonance in people from beyond your state, largely determined by local issues. Then you are able to make the transformation from being a powerful regional satrap into a credible pan-Indian presence. That transition is work in progress, I assume, for any other leader who seeks to challenge the BJP.
Then should the first thing, Rama, should it be the UPA chairperson? Should that be the first step in the posturing and the positioning?
of the anti-Modi alliance?
Right now, Sonia is the thing. So we know Pawar is trying. Should Mamta then try for that, or Kejriwal?
I think it's A, too early. B, I think Prashant Kishore is already trying to be the glue. I'm not saying UPA chairperson, but be the glue. It's too early right now. So he's the one who is the go-between. He's trying to bring, line up the ducks in a row kind of an effort he's doing. And in terms of who can be the best glue, I think right now Mamta has the best chances. Because she has had a relationship with the Congress, with Sonia, with many other parties as well. So she's not really seen as cantankerous and as hostile as Kejriwal is. So she has a better chances at being the glue. But right now, her glue is Prashant Kishore. So he's doing the first few preliminary steps, I would think.
Power knows. But supposing Dr. Varu Mamta does not win, she's trying to win Goa, I think, in the next round of assembly elections. That's where she has the best chances. Kejriwal's best chances, I think, Punjab. So supposing neither of them manage to win it, then they are still stuck to that one state or one union territory. So how do we then give them the appeal that transcends borders, state borders?
Well, I think, first of all, the challenge for the non-BJP parties is not just to win against the BJP, but to be able to make a dent in the BJP base, to be able to reduce their numbers. Even in UP, for example, I think the latest opinion poll which I saw says that the BJP numbers will come down by as much as 50 seats in the assembly, from 300 something to 200 something. Now, I think, you make a dent in the BJP and show that it has peaked as a party. It has peaked, the decline has begun. And that narrative itself will have its consequences. So whether it's in Goa or in Punjab, I don't see BJP really in the reckoning. I think Punjab, the election will be between AAP and Congress, from whatever one gathers. Therefore, in other states, really making a dent, making sure that the non-BJP parties are able to retain. Now, BJP's strategy is precisely that. You look at what it is trying to do in states where it is not in power. It is trying to make a dent. It has started in a very aggressive manner in Telangana. It has not yet done that in Orissa or in Andhra Pradesh. But it will certainly.
Those are the next states where it will look.
There will be some mandatory testing of waters, as Sanjay, Dr. Baru is rightly saying. You don't have to necessarily win, but you have to test the waters and push the horizons to see. Of course, ultimately, elections in a democracy are about winnability. But there is a process. You don't reach the final stage straight away. There is a Urdu couplet which you'll allow me. गिरते हैं घुड़सवार ही मैदान जंग में, वो तिफल क्या गिरे कि जो घुटने के बल चले. So, therefore, there is a process. And in that process, there will be many such ventures where waters are tested, horizons are pushed, and we will see from there what traction organization can get you and what traction ideology can get you. Very often we discount ideology. But a
personality overrides ideology, not in today's politics.
Therefore, personality, ideology, and strategic, grassrooted, methodical planning.
Just sorry to interrupt. But I think there's an important thing which we should now come to terms with, which is that there is an increasing element within the BJP, RSS combined, which is rethinking this whole idea of a third term for Modi. Don't underestimate the level of dissension or disappointment, even within what we call the Sangh Parivar, the larger family. With the current dispensation of Gujarati-led dispensation of Modi and Shah. UP is a testing ground for that hypothesis. I don't know, it's a hypothesis that, they don't, there are many people who are worried. I mean, what are we heading towards?
Yogi model also coming into the conversation. Rama, you wanted to comment?
No, first I wanted to respond to what Sanjay said earlier, which is that, and also what Pawan said, which is this is a process, and the process is what political observers thrive on. And so we're not talking about who's going to win or lose. So this process itself will establish for us what is the best template. Is it a Modi light template, BJP light template? Or is it an anti-BJP? Is this like completely anti-BJP alternative we're looking at? Or are we really looking at Hindutva light or BJP light? And so, Mamta may have won with an anti-Modi template. Kejriwal won with a BJP light template. So let's look at the next few elections to see which one really works. Congress has tried a BJP light template, not really so much on a national security issue, but on Hinduism issue. And it got it somewhere in the Gujarat election. It got it to a certain point. So we still are not sure what is the best way to counter Modi's BJP. Is it to go half the distance on Hindutva, or is it to go completely the other way like Congress is right now? So it's hugely politically interesting. Coming back to the CM's model, I had written an article last year that what Modi and Shah have brought to the capital is the CM model of governance. This authoritarian streak that we talk about, the Lutyens liberals have just discovered, has existed in the states for 2 decades or more than that. That's how CMs rule states. They're like satraps. The authoritarian streak, the draconian laws, clamping down on the local media and buying up local media. Dissent is squashed. Opposition is lampooned. This is classic CM model of governance. That's what. So Modi is really ruling India like a super CM. And Sanjay would remember Chandrababu Naidu had very early on said the center is a conceptual myth. And India is really ruled by the states. So if India is really ruled by the states and we're looking at the models, different CM models, then I would think Kejriwal and Mamta offer a welfareism model and populism and welfareism model. Someone like Yogi, if you speak to people in Lucknow and in UP, will say law and order. Law and order is a Yogi model. And law and order, when they say crime and law and order, it's a code. It's a code for Encounter Raj. It's a code for Love Jihad. It's a code for UAPA on protesters. But they will not say all that. They'll just say crime kam kar diya hai, law and order. He's like a law and order CM. So that would be the Yogi model as I can see it now.
That's, I guess...
Just a quick comment.
Quick.
You see, the soft thing, you must understand, talking of Hinduism is not soft Hinduism. Because no one has a monopoly on the interpretation or the ownership of Hinduism. Opposition parties in the new matrix of conversations will have to reappropriate Hinduism and take it back to the core sanity, which has made it a Sanatan Dharma. We must bear in mind that this whole business of the BJP thing, they are the only spokesman of Hinduism, and the rest of the world keeping quiet on religion totally is not a workable formula.
I agree.
On that note, since everybody is agreeing, I think this is a good time to end the show. But I think we should have another discussion soon on this Hinduism as to who is really the keeper of Hinduism and should BJP given monopoly on it. But that will be another show. Thank you all for this discussion and thank you for watching this show.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.